China Global Television Network.
Hello and welcome to World Insight with me, Tian Wei. Global tourism now is steadily recovering as the emergency stage of the pandemic fades away. How to nurture more new ideas and apply more new technologies to cater to the new trends of tourism, and how to create more momentum for the growth of tourism. I asked all these questions in our special program today to ambassadors from different continents. The discussion took place at the World Tourism Cities Federation Changsha Fragrant Hills Tourism Summit. Tell me, what is traveling meaning to you? What is the meaning of travel to you, both here in China and around the world?
For me, traveling is the possibility of know the people, the countries, and yourself in a very fast way.
For me, traveling is exchange of culture, belief, values, and it's actually, for me, it's an economic and social value.
Yes, traveling for me as well is meeting others, and most importantly is discovering myself as well.
I will just use two quotes. You gave us the opportunity to use two sentences. One is a quote from the Prophet Muhammad, and he said, "Don't tell me how educated you are, tell me how much you have traveled." And the second quote is from Paul Tyrrell, an American writer, "Travel is glamorous only in retrospect."
First of all, of course, people-to-people communication, and at the same time, tourism is a quite important issue on GDP growth of my country.
Two sentences for us, we always say travel is university of life. You learn by traveling. You meet people, you discover new culture, and for me as well, it's a kind of relaxing and becoming a new you.
I can only quote a famous author who said, "Travel expands the mind." And for me, it has expanded. I traveled a lot, expanded my mind. I learned about the world. I learned about other people and their cultures and their fears as well.
Traveling is an adventure. It's about embracing different cultures, learning from people's experiences, learning about their livelihoods, and also about sharing experiences and embracing our own cultural diversity.
One of the things we want you to share with us is how you are doing in your own countries. Starting from you, Mr. Ambassador from Colombia, biodiversity, very important for your country, of course. I know that tourism, as a result of that, related to it, has also been flourishing. Tell me more about what you have been doing and also what you can share with us, please.
We have a lot of national parks in Colombia and a lot of projects and practices to protect the plants and wildlife. And through this approach, we are establishing a more attractive destination for tourism as well. Before 2017, we didn't invest specifically in tourism, but after that year, there was a strategic transition in our country by investing more resources into the tourism sector in order to make it a driving force for the national economic development. I believe Colombia, on one hand, has biodiversity. On the other hand, is a very interesting country. We have a lot of cultural elements that are very attractive. For example, local folk music and local culture, local cuisine, and culture as well. Thank you.
Tell me more about how do you see some of the latest challenges as a result of lack of transportation support these days in international tourism, and what can you do?
Thank you. Thanks to our world-class airline, the Ethiopian airline, we have been able to actually connect all African countries with the rest of the world. So this is a huge opportunity for Ethiopia, not only for Ethiopia, in fact, for Africa and the whole world to visit Ethiopia and Africa, traveling through the Ethiopian airline. Having said this, Ethiopia, the land of origins, has a lot to offer tourists. As land of origin, Ethiopia is cradle of humankind. Lucy, our ancestor, is found in Ethiopia. Ethiopia is the origin of Nile, which nurtured ancient civilization, even current civilization. Ethiopia contributed the most, like coffee. Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee. Ethiopia, a mosaic of people, culture. We have about 80 languages spoken in Ethiopia. And as an ancient country, we have a long history. We have different tourist destination sites, which has to be which are historical and has to be visited by tourists. I can mention the rock hewn Lalibela, the Aksum obelisk, the medieval Gondar castle. With regard to nature, we are rich in biodiversity, fauna, both fauna and flora. The altitude difference that we have within Ethiopia, from above 4,000 meters above sea level to negative 116, which is the Afar depression, has given us the opportunity to have a huge and rich biodiversity in Ethiopia. We have an active volcano in the Afar depression, which is the most attracting tourist destination. So we have a lot to offer. I'll take this opportunity to invite all Chinese and other tourists to visit their land of origin.
Let me go to Ambassador of Jordan. Tell me more about your country, Jordan, important country on the Belt and Road Initiative. It creates a lot of opportunity for real in-depth exchange, of course include the tourism. Tell me more about that.
Indeed, when you belong to a country that has a long history of more than 10,000 years, including so many civilizations, it would be very difficult to summarize in a few minutes the richness of our culture and of our heritage. However, I would like to just in a few words say that Jordan have a strategic location in the heart of the Middle East, where it connects three continents, Asia, Africa, and Europe. So if anyone in the world would like to know about human development, human races, and the contribution of each civilization to its own history, Jordan is one of those very good showcases where human civilizations have been melting together, have been developing together, and contributing to the advancement of humanity. But one thing I would like to say is that in addition to the archaeology, history, heritage, and environment and landscapes, there are one specific things about Jordan that's only found in Jordan in the world, which is Wadi Rum. Mars in Jordan. In the south of Jordan, we have Wadi Rum, which is the most resemblance area of the surface of Mars. Actually, it has been a spot and the site for filmmaking, many films, international films that were made about Mars and space. So I would like to invite you all to come and have the experience of Mars before you get to the Mars reality.
Let me also have the ambassador of Malta. You know, what does these resources of tourism tell you about what we can learn through traveling? Please.
The mythical Atlantis, the island in the middle of the oceans, is actually Malta. So some people have been looking around in the bottom of the sea trying to see these remains. And really, we are in the middle of the Mediterranean, which means the center of the earth, Mediterra in Latin. And as many of you know, or for those who don't know, Malta is an island state. It's a member of the European Union in the center of the Mediterranean, but it's very famous also for its history. The Phoenicians were Malta Romans, the Knights of St. John, the French, and the British, from whom we gained independence in 1964. It is home to numerous fortresses, megalithic temples dating back 500,000 before Christ. And tourism plays a very important part in Malta, around 30% of our GDP, so it employs a significant amount of people. We are blessed with about 330 days of sunshine throughout the year, which is pretty nice. And a lot of people, in fact, when they come to Malta, they retire in Malta. They come and live because the climate is so good. So there is this project which was started in Malta during the pandemic. But today they developed this website. It's called underwatermalta.org. And you can go there and see all these wrecks all around Malta of ships from the Second World War, even submarines, aeroplanes, and going back to a Phoenician wreck which is there, so you can experience it without actually having to be physically at the bottom of the sea.
So many tourist destinations in your country. So tell us more about that, and how is this really helping you, your country, to be able to have more in-depth cultural exchanges with others?
We are a small country in the middle of Europe, 3.5 million population. From this point of view, I will tell you a few arguments why it's interesting to come to Moldova, especially for wine. First of all, we are placed 11 between wine exporters, despite we're a small country. We export wine to almost 70 countries in the world, and China is one of the key importers of Moldovan wine. Moldova has the highest density of vineyards, around 3.5 hectares per 100 inhabitants. And each fourth Moldovan is engaged in wine production, industrial production of Moldovan wine. Another issue which is quite important also for tourists, I think that we can say that the ratio or the balance between high quality and price of Moldovan wine is the best in the world. Also, I think could be interesting for Chinese the different festivals which we organize in Moldova. One, of course, is related again to wine. Every first weekend of October, Moldova became an open cellar. Everybody can go from one winery to another, can enter, can test wine, can participate in different ceremonies, can participate in production of wine, be member of the team which produce wine. And this event is visited by many people. Also, because of Moldova, as I told you, is situated in the middle of Europe, and we have 1 to 3 hour flights to Chisinau from Maine, from all the European capitals.
I know from the recovery of tourism, your country has been making tremendous efforts in terms of governance and administration of tourism industry. What have you been doing since the starting of 2022? What can you share with us about what you have been doing so far, please.
One area that we are doing now, especially, we noticed that during pandemic, we had our main source market, which was Europe. And what happened when the European countries were closed, tourists did not travel. And since we were not focusing a lot on other markets, we were in big trouble. So this time we've decided that we need to reduce reliance on traditional markets. So we are becoming more aware with other markets now. We're opening to other markets, especially in Asia, and also where we find that our Chinese tourists, even though they have started to travel again, but they are not going back to countries like Seychelles as much. So we want to become more aware, become more aware of Seychelles, so that they can choose Seychelles as a preferred tourism destination as well. We are also looking at the different market segments. We want to concentrate a lot on, for example, sports tourism, medical tourism, family tourism. Instead of just focusing on, at the moment, we're very good with weddings and honeymoons, but we want to look at other sectors as well, so that we can attract the different segments of the market. So we want to diversify more into cultural activities, community-based activities, and ecotourism products as well. One other area what we want to focus on is also on improving and facilitating our service delivery. We rely a lot on expatriates to come in and do the service. And we found that during COVID, a lot of them left, and also the foreign exchange left with them. So we need to train and retain our local talents, so that our own people can take up tourism and also provide the service and provide the face of Seychelles, a Creole face, to our tourists that come in.
Mr. Ambassador, tell me more about what does the past 3 years mean to your country, to Sri Lanka, and also what have you learned in order to promote tourism today?
The last 3 years have been very bad for Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's 12% or to 15% of our economy was dependent on tourism, and it shrank to zero due to the pandemic. But happily, it is recovering now. Every month we've been getting close to 100,000 tourists so far this year, and we expect that the recovery will continue. We would like it to reach pre-pandemic levels as soon as possible, because the economy is dependent to such an extent on tourism. But talking about Sri Lanka itself, I wouldn't be exaggerating if I said that Sri Lanka, little as it is, has to offer almost everything that any other country can offer, except snow. We have everything else except snow. If we go to the southern part of Sri Lanka and to the eastern part of Sri Lanka, you can see the biggest mammals in the world, the blue whale, the humpback, the right whale, all of them. And Sri Lanka has been designated as a foodie destination by the BBC, one of the 25 countries where one must visit to experience the food. Then, of course, Sri Lanka, as you mentioned, is known the world over for its black tea, honcha, and there are mountains and mountains, high mountain ranges covered with the tea. It's a beautiful part of the country. You leave the mountains, you go to the ancient cities, which are 2,500 years old as some of the cities of China. It is also known as one of the safest places one can travel to. It is very safe for women. So if you wish to travel alone as a woman and you're looking for a place to go to, Sri Lanka is the place to go to. And then we hope that you will go. And then, of course, we are also known for our smiles. We are known as the people with the persistent smile. We welcome our visitors because we have been doing that for thousands of years. It's part of our nature.
Tell me more about what are some of the latest strategies you have and what you can offer now to tourists who actually are changing in their mindset.
We are a country located in the Caribbean region. We are a country that celebrates our rich ethnic diversity. We can trace our ancestral linkages to places all over the world, to many distant lands in Africa, China, India, the Middle East, and Europe. And because of our diversity, this gave fusion, this spread of fusion of a culture from many parts of the world, a culture that we all love and cherish very, very much. We are known fondly as the country that celebrates many different festivals. We are the land of festivals. So because of our diversity, we have many, many unique festivals that we all celebrate. I know many of my friends from the Latin American and Caribbean region would know our world-famous Carnival, which is the longest and largest street parade in the world. In terms of the revitalization strategies moving forward, Trinidad and Tobago is traditionally a hydrocarbon economy. We have over 150 years of experience in the oil and gas industry. And because of that, tourism is really a smaller sector that we haven't been focusing on traditionally. But it is still a viable sector that can contribute significantly to our local economy. From the COVID-19 pandemic, the government of Trinidad and Tobago, we realized that there are significant risks and vulnerabilities that were exposed with regards to the tourism sector. And because of that, well, actually what really came out of that was the National Tourism Recovery Policy that was formulated in 2021. And through that policy, there are many different programs that the government of Trinidad and Tobago is going to focus on in terms of building the capacity of the tourism sector and trying to bolster the capacity of human capital. So we are looking at the training and re-education of the people in our services sectors. We are also looking at reviewing the incentives for investors in our tourism sector, trying to increase the number of international air access and channels to Trinidad and Tobago, remove certain barriers with regards to tourism, such as visa waivers, removing hindrances and trying to really facilitate air travel as well.
What do you consider as the most important challenges tourism industry is facing all over the world, especially in your country? And what can we do together now?
I think that by using platforms such as these and having different conferences where we are able to share different types of information, I think that what is a true handicap of the tourism sector is that we often don't have the information. We are not armed with the information, and we need to be able to sharpen our existing toolkit to know how to counteract certain challenges. So we need to use these platforms to share experiences, to share information, to be armed with data analytics, statistics, and information so that we can share these experiences cross borders. And I think that that is really important.
I think we need to restore the confidence of the international traveler so that they will once again go to destinations they had always wanted to go to with a high degree of confidence. And for this, we need to use the social platforms much more than we are using them at present.
I think in our case, I'm going to go to air connectivity. I think in order for us to experience each other's countries, culture, to travel, we need to have connectivity. So I think after COVID, we've seen that air connectivity has been a bit tight, especially when it comes to expenses, how the fares are very high. But even between our cities, we hear in the Federation of Cities, but our cities are not connected. So how can we go about to connect the cities together?
You know, it will be maybe strange what I will say now, but I think that tourism also have to think about peace in the world. I think this could be one of the main problems for many countries or for many tourists to explore new countries. And second, I think that also we have to show new cases, new cities, new countries for tourists who already are tired with all destinations.
Malta just published the Malta Tourism Strategy from 2022 until 2030. It focuses on the 3 R's: recover, rethink, and revitalize. I like very much what the UN coordinator in Beijing said, and quoted the Secretary General Guterres saying the importance of aligning our efforts with the SDGs and the 1.5-degree future, and also our strategy is in line with sustainability principles through strategies aimed at making the best use of the country's natural capital and cultural attractions in a way that balances the welfare and well-being of the country's residents and the maximization of the visitors' economic and value satisfaction.
Tourism is not a product that we can buy. Tourism is a relation that connects us with the places and with the people. And for that, nothing can really replace traveling. Social media played a very important role during the COVID in promoting, in engaging all the people of my country, Jordan, in promoting our country, our cultural heritage. But again, it did not replace the traveling to my country, Jordan. Luckily, this was a very good, it paid off very well. The results were increasing in terms of figures of travelers to my country, Jordan, of more than 35% over the 2019. Thank you.
For quick rebound of the sector, I think an innovative way of financing the recovery is crucial. In Ethiopia, we managed to finance grand tourist destination development projects through an innovative way of financing. The second one is, I think, regional integration through tourism and cooperation at multilateral level. A good example is the summit that we are taking part today.
Yo creo que reuniones como esta.
To us, very importantly, through events like today, so we can bring people closer together. And I feel that not just with tourism, between countries, between peoples, we need to sit down face to face, bring ourselves closer together and communicate with each other. I believe all the countries represented here, to our tourists, are very attractive places, and we look forward to seeing more of the visitors to our countries. Thank you.
Participen activamente en el turismo mundial.
That's my conversation about travel and tourism. As you know, travel makes all of us smarter. That's all the time we have for today. On behalf of my team in Changsha and Beijing, thanks for being with us. Bye for now.